Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's been a while. Wow, it's been about a week since the last episode here, and I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of Burgers and Fries Game Talk with a Shake. This is episode 11 here today, and I'm joined by, once again, the giggles of the group, Sadet, the Hyperactive Princess from Canada, and my co-host Monolith.
And I am not very hyper at this moment.
What's the matter?
Well, she might be hyper later. You don't know.
Yeah, true. Just give her some time to warm up, and she'll be good.
Because I actually have something to ask of the people.
What's up?
Oh, absolutely. I just want to announce that I'm happy to be back after missing last week's show, and I would be, I'm super excited to announce that we are now sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
We are sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
We're not.
And Raid, when you hear this podcast, send us the sponsorship.
We're not.
All right, I'm sorry. What were you saying, Sadet? Go ahead.
Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted, which
by Raid Shadow Legends.
Would you hush?
Oh. All right, go ahead.
There is a unsung hero working in the malls and the schools. A hero that is looked down upon by the higher-up workers because of the type of job they do. The janitors.
I know.
The janitors have been protecting people and cleaning up our messes in the schools and in the malls. So they deserve respect. So please, people, when you go to your school or go to the mall, if you see a hardworking janitor or just any janitor in general, tell them thank you and that you appreciate their hard work on trying their best to keep the place clean. Because without them, the food trays would still be messy. The floors would be a disaster. The garbage cans would be overfilled beyond belief.
Right. If it weren't for janitors, we wouldn't have clean environments, indoor environments like malls and schools and shopping centers and all that stuff. They wouldn't be there. So please, tell them thank you and appreciate what they've done for you.
Yeah. People that are in necessary jobs like that all the time are looked down upon. It's like, trash collectors. The people, all of the people that work in trash pickup, that drive by our houses and take the bags that we put out in front of our houses. I mean, no one thinks that's a great job, but if we didn't have those people doing that, what would happen? Think about it.
Exactly.
It'd just be piles of garbage in the streets.
Lots of garbage.
But, I mean, sure, they're getting paid, but it doesn't diminish the fact that they're doing such a necessary job,
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a good job, and they deserve more credit than they're getting.
That they do.
Right.
So, please, people, when you see those hard workers taking that disgusting stuff out of our trash cans, taking the time to make sure we have a decently clean toilet at the stores or the malls to be sittable on. Even risking accidentally getting poked with a stray needle. Sometimes. Because those garbage cans, they're not just filled with trash. They can be filled with other unwanted stuff.
It's true.
Yeah, and I guess I'll kind of throw out there that it's not always needles from, what most people think of, which would be, different types of drug abuse. But, there are people that have to use, in everyday life, they're just out, and they have to use needles for a medical reason,
Yeah,
like diabetics.
if you diabetes, get the inject.
Yeah.
I know we kind of.
There are some people who don't have pumps, and they still use syringes, and they have to throw those away. But look, those people could still be sick, and people like janitors need to clean that stuff up as well, and they have to be wary of that. And that's such a great point, Sadet. Such a great point.
It is. So let's give a little hand to Sadet Hyper Princess for bringing it up, because she's right. Let's give her a little hand here, definitely.
I mean, was there anyone that you had in mind, Sadet, that you had seen? I mean, without giving out any names, of course, or this is just like a general thing that you've been noticing as you've been going out?
Well, before COVID started, like way before it started, I've noticed that, like, the janitors in general have been seeming a bit down. So I started going to the janitors every time I see one and thank them, and every time I thank them for their hard work, they always smile. Like
Yeah,
I
and they're
just
happy.
made their day.
They're happy. They enjoy what they're doing. They do it for a living and they enjoy it.
I don't think it's because they enjoy their work, but they understand that it's a necessary job.
Yeah.
And hearing somebody show appreciation for what they've been trying to do, keeping the place clean as best they can,
Right. Definitely
it
right.
just makes people feel better when they feel appreciated, even if the job is one that people don't really like.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very true.
Yeah.
All these are true points, people. All these are true points.
And through the last year and a half, there's been a lot of talk about appreciate essential workers, but maybe people who are in different type of cleanup jobs, like janitors, are maybe in a lot of areas that they didn't get much appreciation, because a lot of people might not have seen them as essential workers, when of course they certainly are essential workers. But yeah, so I totally understand what you're saying, Sadet.
I do
They
too.
are the unsung heroes protecting us from our own filth as well as bacteria. The bad bacteria, to be more precise. Because there is good bacteria out there, people. There is good bacteria, but I'm saying that the janitors are trying their hardest to protect us from the bad bacterias.
Or I like to refer to them as the helpful and the unhelpful bacterias. As of course, we would not be alive as human beings today without bacteria.
No, we wouldn't.
Nope.
No, we wouldn't.
Our
but
bodies would not function.
once again, please give thanks to those hard workers when you see them.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
Now,
did-
shall we get started with the real discussion everybody's been waiting for?
well,
Yes.
do we ever really have a real discussion? That is my question. We could actually have a discussion about that for an hour, but I just want to ask you. I just want to ask you guys, who watched E3 today?
I
for those
did, I
who are
couldn't.
listening-
No.
For those who are watching, after the fact, we're filming this on Sunday, June 13th, and this probably won't go up for a little while after. But today was the Microsoft Bethesda and the Squeenix, as we like to call them, the Square Enix E3 shows for 2021. And I have to say, without getting into too much detail, I don't really have too many complaints about the Microsoft show. I would have liked to see something more from Bethesda. And even with that, I'm not complaining too much because we saw, I guess, a glimpse of Starfield, and we got a date on Starfield. Starfield's going to be released 11/11/222. We're going to see Starfield actually release. We did get, we only got like a short demo of what, it's more like cinematics from Starfield. So we didn't get a ton, but at least we got something. But we got nothing.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, true
Exactly. But we got zilch on Elder Scrolls 6, other than in the closing sort of speech by Phil Spencer, because the Microsoft panel started out with Todd Howard. So the first person that they had talking was Todd Howard, and it closed, Todd Howard of Bethesda, and it closed with Phil Spencer. And for all of those out there that don't remember, don't know, remember Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft. They bought them a few months ago for $7 billion, so they just decided to combine.
But us at Disney been having a say in a lot of things lately with Sony.
Yeah, with Sony, exactly. With Sony. Yeah, no, but Microsoft now owns Bethesda, so they combined the shows this year, which will probably be, going forward into the future, I'm sure will probably be the case. You're probably not going to see Bethesda having their own slots in anything anymore. I'm sure it'll just be part of Microsoft Game Studios from now on. Anything from kind of like the ZeniMax Studio branch, which would be like id Software, and so on. But yeah, we got nothing about Elder Scrolls 6 other than at the end of the show, Phil Spencer in his closing monologue kind of said, "Hey, we've got Obsidian working on stuff. We've got an Exile working on stuff. We're working on Elder Scrolls 6," and that was it. He just basically said, "We're working on Elder Scrolls 6," and that was it. He didn't say there was not a screenshot, nothing. And by the way, for those who didn't see it, go and watch the Outer Worlds 2 trailer. It's pretty funny.
Yep.
It's pretty funny. The Outer Worlds 2 trailer looks pretty funny. And the reason for that is they basically just took assets from Outer World 1 and were showing you that, saying, like, basically, well, we have no screenshots of Outer World 2. It was a joke.
Very funny.
They basically made a joke trailer for Outer Worlds 2 and just ended by saying, the reason why we only showed you screenshots from Outer World 1 is we haven't even started Outer Worlds 2. But here you go, everyone. We're doing Outer Worlds 2. Yeah.
It's like laughing a bit.
Yeah. But it was cool because it was like a joke trailer to basically announce the fact that, yes, they are working on an Outer Worlds 2. But they have nothing to show for it yet because, who knows, they probably just started or they don't have assets to show us. So that was actually cool. So it's actually kind of funny. So if you want to see a comical, creative trailer just to announce that they've started working on a game, then check out the Outer Worlds 2 trailer from Obsidian and Microsoft. So here's my big complaint about today, though. It's actually about the Square Enix show. That was not... So they had 45 minutes. That was their time slot. They started at 3:15. They went to like 4 o'clock. They basically only showed Marvel games.
That's it? Only Marvel games?
So
what's up with that?
Yeah, so 35 minutes of their show was them, most of which was them showing off the new Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I could care less about. I don't
Disney decided for them on which the time slots of our games should be.
I know, exactly. And then they spent like 10 minutes on DLC for that terrible Avengers game. The Wakanda DLC. By the way, the Wakanda DLC looks really cool. It's just, unfortunately, it's for a really terrible, live service game, the new Avengers game. So it's going to be, it's not going to be good because it's for a terrible game. But literally, they took up almost that entire time slot for those two games. And who owns those properties? Yes, Square Enix is the developer of those games.
Jeez.
It's actually Eidos Montreal is the developer.
I hope my Mickey Mouse impression was just as horrible as the game.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. The games looked worse than your impressions. They looked worse.
What's sad?
Wow.
What's sad? Is grim. Sad. This reminds me of the Microsoft conference where all they did was show Kinect games over and over and over. That's what it reminds me of.
Was that a 360?
Yes.
Conference? Because there really weren't any Kinect games for the Xbox One.
I'm talking about for 360 when they were 360.
But oh man, this must have been a long time ago. What were you talking, like a decade ago?
That was like, I think
more maybe.
I think it was like 2012 or 2011, 2012 or 2013. One of them. It was yeah. It was.
It could probably not 2013 because 2013.
It was 2011. 2011. 2011. I remember. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I just graduated from college.
But, that makes sense because the Xbox One and the PS4 came out in 2013. But I mean, yeah, that also sounds terrible, Tony. That sounds awful. Just all Kinect games. Oh my god, the Kinect was such a failure. It's so useless. So useless.
Oh, is the Kinect again?
I'm
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I know what the Kinect is.
It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
But it's so true. What the hell is the Kinect? But anyway, before it gets out of my head, let me just finish about the Square Enix show. Then they did like a 2-minute trailer announcing that Final Fantasy 1 through 5, and I think that they're remasters of the originals. I know that they did like remasters on the DS where they like added new graphical engines to some of the later games, but they're releasing 1 through 5 on Steam. That's just the announcement I was looking for. I'm not saying those aren't great games, but seriously, I mean, how many times have they relaunched Final Fantasy 1 through 5?
Way too many.
I mean, they needed to announce this in their E3 time slot, and then they literally took up the rest of the show for mobile app games.
Oh joy!
Because everybody loves mobile app games.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And they all looked like gotcha. I guess they all looked like gotcha games.
Everybody loves paying thousands of dollars for their waifus.
Yeah, let's hope Nintendo releases the next gotcha Fire Emblem game. But yeah, so there's a new
Heroes is good enough. I love Heroes. It's perfect the way it is.
Yeah, keep it the way it is.
Yes, there's a new Final Fantasy mobile game. It definitely looks like a gotcha game, but this is what they use their time slot for. No Tomb Raider announcements. No Final Fantasy 16 announcements. Nothing.
Hey, no announcements of those games is better than getting announcements of those games that are complete and utterly trash, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can look at it that way.
In a sense, you could look at it as no news is good news.
How true that is.
Because if there's no news on something, that means there's no bad news on that something.
Yeah,
Right.
and nothing about the next Dragon Quest. They didn't even talk about it. So, I don't know, maybe there's nothing to show off, because I know it was only just kind of like announced that they were even working on another Dragon Quest. But, hey, I guess it's no different than Bethesda saying, hey, everyone, at least Bethesda, like I said, at least Microsoft Bethesda at the end said, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6, don't you worry, Square Enix didn't even mention, hey, everyone, we're working on Dragon Quest, the next Dragon Quest, or, show us anything from Final Fantasy 16. We know that Final Fantasy 16 must be pretty close to being done at this point. And they couldn't even show us a screenshot. They gave us 35 minutes of some literal crap Disney Marvel games. I don't care about Marvel.
Neither do I.
But you have to care because it's Disney.
Exactly.
Yes,
So,
Mickey Mouse. We understand, Mickey.
Tony, do me a favor. Stop inviting people to the stream without telling us. Sadet, make sure Tony doesn't invite the mouse again, okay?
Sorry,
Look,
but Mickey had joined.
I don't know. I don't
Look.
know about that. I cannot control what he does or who pops in here.
Exactly, because he's probably living in Tony's house and, just speaking to Tony's mind or something. I don't know. Tony, you've gone crazy. But clearly, I don't know. You can see who actually paid for that spot. And I know this is kind of like conspiracy theory, or maybe it's not a conspiracy theory because who cares? It's not like they're breaking any laws by doing this. But it would seem to me that Disney bought that spot for Square Enix because Disney games, or I should say games based on Disney properties, Disney Marvel, took up almost the entire Square Enix event. And we saw no cool JRPG stuff. I don't know. I wanted to see
more important than that. Really,
God
that's so
damn
cool
you, Mickey.
stuff.
Mickey, you know what? I'm playing Shade Shadow Legends for you right now. I'm sorry, I said Shade. I'm playing Raid Shadow Legends for you right now, Mickey. Anyway, that's kind of my rant here on the E3. So if you go back, for everyone listening to this, if you go back and watch the Square Enix 2021 E3 show, don't waste your time. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's nothing there.
No,
you're better off.
to do it because Disney said so.
God damn it, Mickey!
Mickey, what are you doing here? I know I invited you, but I didn't want you to stay the whole time.
Tony, get Mickey off the stream.
Mickey.
I don't even see how to eject him from the chat. How is Mickey in the chat?
Magic. The powers of the server is how he's in here,
Because
Grim.
Disney magic. That is how.
Oh, damn it, Mickey! You ruined my E3! You ruined my childhood!
Soon, Disney will take over everything, including Nintendo.
You already
my
kind
God.
of did with Mickey Speedway
Oh
USA and Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse.
Oh my God, Tony, I just realized something.
What?
The worst has happened.
What is it?
Mickey has merged with Yoda.
Oh no! Now he's Moda. Mickey Yoda. Moda.
Literally, that's because it sounded like a Mickey Yoda voice. I'm scared now. I'm scared now. It sounded like a combination. Mickey, I don't know how you absorbed Yoda. But I mean,
We also own Star Wars,
yes, it makes sense. Oh no, we're doomed. But I guess we were doomed the second Lucas sold Star Wars and we got those 3 terrible sequel movies.
Yes, which we will talk about in the future. Have a Star Wars podcast in the future.
That's gonna be, and by the way, that's gonna be one of the saddest podcasts we've ever had.
Yes, we're all Star Wars fans here. It's gonna be
It will have to be called The Demise of Star Wars.
Yes.
So anyway, Tony, I since you guys didn't watch it, I guess there's nothing else really
Oh,
to
if you think
mention.
what I did to Star Wars was bad, just wait until you see what I have planned for the other companies in the world.
Mickey, what are you still doing here? I
Oh,
thought we
God.
told you to go.
Oh God, Tony, before it's too late, I can't bear to see the apocalypse, the entertainment apocalypse that Disney will leave in its wake.
What are we
I
gonna...
have to destroy all of my televisions and cancel my internet so Disney cannot get into my house.
Do what you can. Do what you can. And so that and now there we go. There's the hyperactive Sadet we've been looking for. There's what we've been looking for
I guess it took a little Mickey
yeah.
to get it out of her.
Yep, it took a little Mickey Mouse to do it to get the.
I cannot. I'll be honest here. I cannot help myself with trying to do that Mickey Mouse impression.
Okay, Sadet, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
It literally did sound like a combination of Mickey and Yoda. So, which, I mean, they're both owned by Disney, so it makes sense that they would have permanently molded into each other. You know, that's something Disney would do.
Would it be Mikta?
I like Moda.
Mikta.
Moda kind of sounds a little better, but I guess Mikta would probably do since
Moda.
Since Mickey Mouse.
Moda sounds better.
Well, Moda sounds a little bit like MODOK, which is a villain in Marvel, but
Mickey
which is
Mouse.
another Disney character now. God damn you, Mickey! If you're still listening, Mickey, if I ever meet you, you'll probably have me shot, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Just try it. The power of Disney magic will protect me.
We'll see about that. Mikta.
Oh, it was a sad day for any Square Enix fans. For those of you that are left out there and haven't, gotten pissed off that Square Enix sold themselves out, 20 years ago. But it was I mean, they still have good franchises, and they didn't give us anything. They literally showed us 2 freaking Marvel games that I could care less about that I would never play.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Nintendo's coming up on Tuesday. I'm just hoping for Nintendo to save the whole E3 weekend. We'll see. We'll see though. They might come with nothing either.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll announce the Switch Pro. Maybe not. Who knows if it's real?
I get the feeling that Nintendo's going to have the better thing, or at least the least awful.
We'll see. Well, I don't know. I kind of lost interest in E3 ever since Sony stopped. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really cared to watch, but we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. No Sony. When was Sony hasn't been in E3? What? 2 years? 3 years? I don't know.
Around there, yeah. But yeah, we need to get on topic of what we were going to talk about.
If you can call it even a topic stream, but
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah. It's pretty much a topic that.
Go ahead. Okay, let's start over. What are you gonna say?
Then again, when have we not gone off topic? This is probably the biggest moment we've gone off topic before even the topic that we were planning today even begun.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Very true. So we'll probably have to continue the topic into many other streams.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's a big topic.
Gotten a bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, we are who we are.
We are, yes.
Go ahead, Tony. What is the topic?
Censorship in video. Censorship in video games. Yes, censorship in video game. Yes,
this is a very, very long topic that not even an hour podcast could tackle at once.
Yeah,
and continuously ongoing. Unfortunately,
this will probably be broken up into a couple parts, or probably 2-3 parts like that. So we'll probably talk a little bit.
Unfortunately, it's not something we probably ever will stop being able to talk about until it stops happening.
Right, because it's the main reason.
Long story short with censorship is that 9 times out of 10, censorship is bullshit.
It is bullshit. Sony is. I mean, here's the thing. Me being a Sony fan, it's one of the main reasons why I haven't gotten a PlayStation 5 yet. Because all the censorship.
Other than you can't find them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time about the PS5. It's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten a PlayStation 5 because it's like a lot of the censorship going on and everything like that. So what's the point of even buying it when Sony was never like this? Well, actually, they were kind of like that with BMX Triple X on the PlayStation 2 back in like 2002. But that's like a totally different story there because like that was just one game compared to how it is now. Like I think the main victim of Sony's censorship has to be the Senran Kagura series. That is the main. That's been like the main victim there, along with.
And we can blame, and we know about like 75 or 80% of the blame can go to the Karens.
Yeah. Yep. So let me just start off quick, because just to give a quick breakdown of a couple things, and this won't take that long. I just because this is something that over on Dark Titan we cover heavily. Censorship is a topic, one of our main topics. And of course, I'm going to leave it to Tony on this podcast to bring up the examples he wants to talk about as we go along. But we're living in kind of like a bizarro world in a certain way, and this kind of goes back to what Tony was saying about Sony. And the bizarro world of it is that traditionally, I'm talking about traditionally, Sony was not a company that would censor things coming out of Japan or even in the United States. It was Nintendo. Nintendo has traditionally been the company that censored games coming out of Japan or even coming out of the West, because they always kind of view themselves as this family-friendly company. And I'm not saying they still don't today. They still try to market themselves as family-friendly. We got a lot of stuff for the kids on the Switch, on the Switch Lite and so forth. But we have a bizarre...
Nintendo have slowly been shifting gears.
Yeah, absolutely.
They own Bayonetta. Well, kind of.
Platinum Games owns Bayonetta, but Nintendo owns the publication rights to Bayonetta 2 and 3, I believe, right? They also own Bayonetta 3, which we're hoping to see some screenshots from Platinum at the show on Tuesday. Because
and
Platinum
Bayonetta, she is a very sexualized character. She is very sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I guess just to finish up what I was saying about the kind of the bizarro switch here is now coming into today's time, today's era, it's Sony that is the company of censorship, and Nintendo has actually said, we have parental controls, we believe in the parental controls, and we have, we believe in the rating boards that exist in all the different countries, like the ESRB in the United States, the PEGI in Europe, and the CERO in Japan, which are the rating board. And we believe in the ratings, and we believe in our parental controls. So, no, we do not pressure companies into changing assets in their games. If they release it and it gets a rating, that's it. They can launch it on our console, which is not something that we would have heard 20 years ago. Nintendo would have not been like this. And the kind of like this all coincides with Sony, with where these ethics, I'm going to call them ethics boards because that's what they're being called. These ethics boards, these ethics committees that exist that are dictating what's getting censored. It's not coming out of Japan. All of that was moved to Sony of America in California.
Because we gotta think of the kids.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
Though this game is supposed to be rated T for teens
or M
for mature, we have to think of the children. The children.
Yeah, in fact, and a lot of In fact,
and I'm not trying to get political here, but look, we know that California is very left-leaning, and we see a lot of, and I'm not political, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm nothing. I don't, those things I don't find fun. So I don't follow that type of stuff. And I know, Tony, you don't either. And Sadet, you're in Canada. So I, as far as I know, you don't even follow Canadian politics. So none of us are really political. At the same time,
the only thing I think of politics
Yep.
is giving them the middle finger most of the time.
Yeah, because it's not
By
fun,
most
and
of the
they're all
time,
liars.
I mean like
yeah.
99% of the time.
Yeah, but you have to admit, when you take a look at kind of like we're online and we're even offline, the censorship is coming from. It's coming from the left. It's coming from liberals. And you never would think that that would be the case. It's another bizarre scenario. If you go back 30 years, 20 years ago, and you tell me then, oh, by the way, in 2020, and even before that, liberals started clamoring for the censorship of video games and entertainment, I would have been like, no, sir, you lying. Go away, future self. You're just trying to trick me. I never would have believed it. But now we're living in it. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's happening.
Yeah,
so,
I know. Say that again.
And again, I'm not trying to... Exactly, and I'm not trying to draw a line in the sand between two political ideals. Ideas. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying this is just the case, and I'm not saying that there aren't people that are on the right, aka conservative, that also don't want to. But most of the censorship that we see today is coming from a certain political leaning. It's crazy. It's like bizarro.
I agree.
Anyway, what examples did you want to talk about?
Well, I mainly wanted to talk about Senator Kagra because that's the one that suffered the most. That's the one that suffered the most. Out of all the ones that suffered, Senator Kagra suffered the most, along with Kadawa Jet Girls and stuff like that. But like, yeah, with Senator Kagra, they censored the Sony version, the PS4 version. They censored the PS4 version while the Switch version was uncensored. Usually it's the other way around. In fact, it happened with...
not in this, like we were saying earlier, but not in this generation. You know, if you want to go...
getting a little bit of deja vu? All right, we've seen something similar happened with Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
Where the uncensored version was on Nintendo, well, the true non-censored version, which was actually censored all the way to hell and back,
was on Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, Senran Kagura, Estival Versus, and Peach Beach Splash, they were fine. But when Burst Renewal came out, it was the Switch version uncensored, while Sony version censored. The only way to get the uncensored version was to get the Japanese version. But I don't speak Japanese, and the subtitles in Japanese, so I can't really do that there. It's kind of like with Sonic 06, where like the only way you can put it in Japanese if you change the system language, means your subtitles be in Japanese as well, so I can't read that. So yeah. But they pretty much took out a lot of the key elements of the past Seven Tower King. They took them out of the PS4 version, but they kept them in the Switch version. And this happened ever since Sony moved their headquarters to California. That's when it started to hit the fan.
That's true. I totally agree.
Yeah, and the same thing would happen.
Again.
Yeah, same thing.
Well, Sony Entertainment of America. I'm sorry, Sony Entertainment moved their headquarters to California. Not Sony themselves. They're still in Tokyo, but Sony Entertainment.
Yeah, I know. In fact, like even Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet, the so-called upgraded version of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Fortune, PS4 version is censored, while the Switch version is uncensored. So yeah, I mean, and it's funny. I remember like when Scarlet came out.
It's the attack on waifus. Kill the waifus. Censor them.
Yeah,
you know,
it's funny.
It can be a sensitive topic for some people, I guess, but they're M-rated games, right? Like Sadet said. Sadet, you said it. They're M-rated games. Mm-hmm. So why is it bad to have sexy characters or sexy-looking female characters in M-rated games?
Right, I know. I mean,
at
least
I could get it if it was for like E10 that they had to like get down the
like having to cover up cleavage and stuff like that on games like that. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I totally
can understand
yeah.
that, but if they're just going to keep it rated M, then there is no need for censorship.
Right. In fact, like another one thing I was going to mention here is like I lost train thought here. Oh yeah, like Scarlet was actually considered to be they were all advertised it like the better version where you had Ayane and this new characters, no, not and Lei Feng and this other new character. When in reality it's censored up the ass. I mean, during the live Extreme Team Fortune didn't really have. I mean, it was uncensored, but it didn't have anything that was like profanity or anything like that or explicit or so. But still, why would they? They had to change the breast physics. They can't have the breast jiggle because that's a no. And like they got.
Like breasts in real life don't jiggle. They don't go boing boing when us women walk. I should know because mine don't go boing boing. They actually do go boing boing.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah, and that's funny because like it's like the funny thing they almost got suckered into buying it because Lei Feng and that other character were in it, but what are you gonna do? Oh, I know what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna stick with that Love Extreme 3 Fortune. Fuck the 2 new characters and start that. I'm not gonna buy the whole game again that's censored just for 2 new characters. I mean, who would do that? People
who want more characters.
It's like buying Madden over and over again, or Dynasty Warriors over and over again, or so like that, and or having to buy every Call of Duty game over and over again. That's what it's like. And like it's just that even happened with Dead or Alive 6 as well, where all the versions were censored. All the versions were censored. And they did make Swimsuit DLC, but it was too little too late.
Heck, the Italia games, aside from Liddy and Sully on the Switch.
Oh, I thought it was Sewell. I thought how you pronounced that Sewell, but I was wrong there.
I've always pronounced it Sule.
Oh, I pronounced it Sewell, but whatever. Yeah, but like...
Anyways.
But like, thing is that there was...
Ryza and Ryza 2, their games, they have swimsuits. Some of them being a bit more covering because the character's either like that young, while others that have older-based characters have a bit more of a sexy swimsuit because they're old enough or have the right body type.
Yeah, but like it's
Meanwhile, characters that are obviously underage have a cute but more covering swimsuit.
I know what you mean there, yeah. Thing is that like I did download.
That's a good way to balance it.
The thing is, I did download the swimsuits at first in like Neptunia or so like that, but then when I realized they didn't show them in the cutscenes, so what was the point? I just say fuck it, just stick with the regular costumes and stuff like that, because like. It's just that, and it's weird, but still, it's like what it is. Especially in Neptunia Mark II, where the cutscenes use the in-game graphics engine, it doesn't change it at all. But what can you do? And like, there was a small bit of censorship in Atelier Verona, and I'm telling you this: they changed Verona's age to 17 from 14 because of the clothes she wore. Like she had the little short skirts, so they changed her age from 14 to 17.
Right, because teenagers never wear short skirts. Never happens.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Oh, yeah.
Not a real thing.
Not happens. It's
not a real thing.
Like I haven't seen when I was a bit younger.
You know how many
teenage girls?
I just want
to.
Yeah, and I just want to mention. Look, I'm all for appropriate behavior, or
appropriate clothing,
and all that stuff. But we're talking about animated characters. We're talking about cartoon characters
this can
that
be
don't
extended to cartoon and anime characters.
Right.
I guess I don't know if I would make that argument. I mean, they're not real.
They get hit with the censorships as well.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, they do. They hit them with censorship, but I mean, they're censoring a drawing that doesn't even look like a real, like, only resembles a real human being, because anime characters don't. They're anime characters. They're generally not modeled after like actual real people,
right,
or what real people would look like. So you're telling me that you're saying a fictional character in a fictional world that's drawn is inappropriate, basically.
Yeah. Hell, like, if you want to talk about censorship back in the day, we got to go back to 1996 when the original Resident Evil came out. Like, in the original Japanese version,
I remember this. Yeah,
yes,
I
like
remember this. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
the original opening cutscene was in color, and it had showed the actor who played as Chris Redfield smoking a cigarette. Well, and when it came in the States, they had to take that out. They had to take that out because it was too violent. Like the color, like the color opening was too violent and bloody, and they made it in black and white.
I'm having trouble remember. Where did they censor this going into?
This was censored. This was the original Japanese version where it was in color, and
Right.
they when it
Because
came,
strangely enough, and this is a whole nother topic, right? Well, no, part of censorship. I'm not veering off that, but it's weird, right? Sexual content,
this isn't
especially
sexual.
hold on. Sexual content, especially age-related sexual content, is heavily censored in the United States. Self-censored, by the way, because we have the First Amendment, and the government is not telling anyone to censor this. I just want to make sure that people understand that that this is what we're talking about. We're talking about. I think we weren't very clear about this in the beginning. In the case of the United States, we are talking about self-censorship, meaning, or if you want to call it corporate censorship, because we're not talking about a government that is telling these companies you can't do this, because all of this stuff that we're talking about is actually protected under the First Amendment. It's protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States as freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So none of this has to do with government. This is all corporate level censorship.
Yeah.
Based on what they think cultural norms are supposed to be. So I think we need to say that. But again, my point is that sexual content, especially age-related content, is censored in the West, and heavy violent and bloody and gory content is censored in Japan. For example, Mortal Kombat is banned in Japan. Now, the government's not actively going out saying you can't buy Mortal Kombat, but there's no official Japanese release of the last couple Mortal Kombat games because they've been banned over basically being too bloody, having decapitations.
And Elfen Lied,
So-
and the anime Elfen Lied is bloody as fuck, so that's weird.
Oh,
there.
well, the anime Alpha Lead has a lot of sexual undertones to it. So they let that one go apparently in Japan. So it's like in the United States, you can't have a sexy character, especially if their age is questionable. But it's just fine to cut someone's head off.
Yeah, and it's fine to
You
have
know,
that sex scene
it's
in
just-
it's
yeah,
fine to
it's-
have that sex scene in The Last of Us Part 2, but Senran and Kagura, no.
Right. Well, it's because of
because people just cannot make up their bloody minds.
Right.
well, it has to do with what they believe perceptions is, and Sony of America, the dictator of censorship over a lot of this stuff. When they look at it, they think that when a lot of people in the West who don't understand anime look at anime, they see everything in anime is, oh, every anime character is a kid, every anime character is underage, which isn't true, by the way, which isn't true. So they feel that like they can't win, so let's just make it so they can't have those scenes, so then no one will question if they're underage or not, because you can't tell if an anime character is underage for the most part. I'm not saying in every case. So, there are indicators that they do give anime characters, say that this character is under 16 or this character is an adult over 20. But most of the time, you lining two characters up next to each other, you can't tell their age because of how anime characters are drawn. So they because of that, because of the perception of it, they say no sex scenes and sexy anime characters, because everyone's going to think they're underage. But because people in the West probably understand this type of sex scene, you allow it to be, So that's why you see sex scenes in like not just Last of Us Part 2, but The Witcher. Also, again,
Oh, fudge! I forgot about that.
I remember that, but I didn't really care much about it. I didn't really care about The Witcher.
And there was nudity in The Witcher, and the other thing about Last of Us Part 2 is, I hate to say it, but Naughty Dog didn't want to be caught under any narratives with that game or going against any narratives, and the game had a very LGBT friendly plot and LGBT friendly characters, I guess you could say. So I feel like they were afraid that if it was found out that they took the sex scene out of the game, that they would be accused of not being LGBTQ plus friendly. So so that's another reason why they left it in, so that they could continue to try and sell the game based upon this narrative that, hey, we've made an LGBT friendly game, even though the game was violent as all hell, right? Holy crap. That game was super violent and bloody and crazy. But
And you technically kill a baby.
Yeah, and you kill a baby, right. But I guess my point here is just that you have these tale of two cities, right? Kind of between the United States, I should say the West, and Japan and the East, and they're okay with sexual themes, even if they include questionably aged characters. And I'm not going to judge the culture for that. Anyone can think what they want, and I'm not going to judge anyone out there for thinking otherwise, but they have a slightly different culture when it comes to age and sexuality than we do, and that is just the case. And you can judge it however you want, or anyone out there, but it is the case. Their social norms are not ours, and people just need to accept that. But they're okay with that stuff, but not okay with things like decapitations. So it's okay to show a sex scene, but it's not okay to show a decapitation?
I think you just looped back to where you were.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, to show that's a tale of two cities. And then in the U.S., it's kind of like, we're not okay with sex scenes, but in most sex scenes, but it's okay to show a decapitation.
And then they'll loop going to the other side, then loop back, then loop, 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 loop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, make up your mind.
Yeah, another form of censorship I want to talk about is the game Evil Zone on the PS1, a game I reviewed. There was a character, I forget her name at the moment, her whole costume was changed outside Japan because they saw her original outfit to be too sexy, so they changed her costume around, and which was kind of dumb there. And hell, even the original Soul game, the Soul Calibur, Soul Edge, aka Soul Blade, there was a small bit of censorship in there with Sophitia in the opening cutscene, where like in the original Japanese cutscene, she's seen in water and she's nude, and it was nothing explicit being shown. It was just the top of her head and like her shoulders like that. You could tell that she wasn't wearing anything, but they had to change it to like her wearing like a bikini top, a swimsuit top or so, which it wasn't even anything that major. I don't know why they bothered to change it anyway. But what can you do?
You're talking about another M-rated game.
No, Soul Blade was rated T.
So that could be why they had to cover her up.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
keep the T rating.
True.
Keep the T rating. Now, and I know that there's a million complaints.
Have they not heard of a strapless bikini top?
Exactly. They could have done that. In our quest to point out censorship, I don't want to go after things that had to be changed to stay in ratings, because as Sadet said earlier quite clearly, we understand that that's a thing. To get an E rating, you can't do certain things. To get a T rating, you can't do certain things. And to even get an M rating, you can't do certain things. Because, if you go past the M rating, then you're in what's called an A rating, which is
adult
basically
only.
What the ESRB assigns to hentai games.
That happened to San Andreas for a little bit. Like that happened a couple times. That for a little bit just great to San Andreas because of the hidden sex scene that was in it. They had to make it an A rating game for in certain areas of the United States and such. There was that coffee house scene where I forget it was called something coffee house something where it showed CJ having sex with somebody, and when this one was noticed, they had to change it to an A rating for a limited time.
I do remember that.
Yeah, me too.
But
And that,
unfortunately, certain things somehow manage to pass under the radar in certain games.
Right. I mean, Bullet Girls
Somehow.
Fantasia. Anybody remember the game? Everybody ever heard of Bullet Girls Fantasia?
Nope.
Well,
I've heard of Bullet Girls. Wasn't there more than one?
Yeah, but there was. I'm talking about the one on the PS4. Like it did have nudity in it, but it was said, but it did censor the boobs and everything like that. But it's still they were allowed to show it and everything like that. But just that it was probably one of the last games to get that far before the censorship of Sony happened. And like I remember, I have the multi-language Asian version that I got on Amazon, and it was a fun game. It's just that imagine if that was made today, it would be totally censored up like crazy.
There was the Devil May Cry censorship on PS4.
I didn't know what censorship.
So basically, I'm looking it up right now.
As he's doing that, not all censorship is bad.
Yeah, I know
there
that.
There is the ironic ones that actually improves the look of a character, which is pretty funny when it happens. The censorship actually improving something. Who'd actually figured that one?
I mean, that is a great point. I mean, there
is those rare moments,
right? But I still think it doesn't make it right, because you have an artist's like an artist's vision or an art direction in a game, or a character's direction in a game, and that's how they originally intended the character to be. And I don't think even a change that looks better, should be forced upon a developer, a creator, an artist.
Well,
I just, that to me is a violation. It's just a First Amendment violation.
Well, you know this song, Let's Get It Started?
Yeah.
It actually originally was going to be Let's Get Retarded.
I knew about that since when it first came out.
I think it sounds better as Let's Get It Started, because it sounds so much more fun. That's a good censor.
I agree. Yes, I do agree.
I guess, like I said, I feel there's no
good censorship sent there. They're just a dime in a dozen.
Yeah. I tend to not like to call it good censorship, because I will never be caught saying that there's ever such a good thing as good censorship. If someone's
So would
vision,
you rather say improvement?
Yeah. So we can. Yeah, that's a good way. You can say it that. You can say that. Hey, the censorship actually made it better. They shouldn't have censored it, but I like it better now. I guess So that's a thing. So yeah. So the censorship could be an improvement over what the artist or developer originally wanted, but it's still is censorship, and therefore still bad, I think. But I get what you're saying.
On the person too.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Is that someone being forced to change something could actually make it so that they create something that you end up liking better. And that's a thing, and that's for each of us to make our own decisions on, and none of us should be ashamed of that, and ever feel like we're betraying anyone because we like something that had to be changed better than the way they originally had it. But we still need to recognize that it's still censorship, and that to force censorship on anyone is still authoritarian. It's authoritarian to tell someone you need to change that because it's too sexy. You need to change that. It's too violent. That's authoritarian. And that's literally against what the founding fathers of the United States, the writers of the United States Constitution were trying to say when they wrote the First Amendment, which is what most freedom of speech clauses that exist in the world today are based on. Oh, by the way, the censorship in Devil May Cry was not a huge censorship, but what they did is on the PS4. So Trish in the game is nude in a scene, and you see her behind, right? But on the PS4, they actually added in a lens flare over her backside, so you couldn't see her nudity.
Why? The
You
PS2
basically
version didn't do that. Why would they do that there? I don't know.
because
Oh,
the PS
if you think that's bad,
because
well,
Sony was
this
different.
is just as bad. Give me a second.
Sure. So in the PS2 era, and I know you can find examples going back to the PS1 of Sony censoring things. I know you can, but they weren't heavily handed about it then. It just only happened in isolated cases, and I don't know the specific reasons behind a lot of them. But the PS2 era, they weren't censoring stuff like this then. The PS4 era, they have been.
Okay, I found it.
They did. Before Sadet tells us this one, I just want to say that there was such a backlash over this, and the fact that in the Steam version and the Xbox One version of Devil May Cry did not have the lens flare, and she was naked in those versions of the games. Capcom, under the backlash, ended up taking out the patch. They ended up patching the game so that she was nude in the PS4. So good for them for doing that, but bad on them for ever adding it in the. Yeah, sorry about it. Go ahead, Sadet. Sorry about that.
Fire Emblem Awakening actually gotten hit with a bit of censorship as well, with one of their DLCs that I am aware of. Tharja, when you get her to a certain area on the map, she actually changes into a bikini, and there is a screen of her in her bikini. The Japanese version is uncensored. The US version isn't.
Really?
The US version has her butt covered by a hanging cloth.
Oh, really?
I'm putting it in the chat here right now. That shows both the censored and uncensored versions.
Yeah, and of
Yes.
course, TT, if you could add that into the show notes so people can see that.
I'm looking here.
The links into the show notes.
Yeah, looking at it here right now. I see it. Yeah, I see it. Because, it's kind of like...
Seriously.
It's kind of like what happened
The
with...
game is rated T.
Go ahead.
And you designed Tharja really well, that she's pretty sexy. And yet you're covering her butt, which is already kind of covered with the bikini bottoms. Bikini bottoms, not underwear, bikini. As in a short, two-piece swimwear.
Yeah, because
And the type she's wearing, from what I can tell, isn't even the lacy type.
if you want to talk
It
about...
is just it's a solid type. It's not the frilly or lacy kind of swimwear.
Yeah.
Nor is it like noodle straps.
Good, and I gotta ask the question. Even if it was nightwear, aka underwear, how different is that really than a two-piece bathing suit?
How true that is.
I mean, aren't they like pretty much exactly the same?
One is made for the water, the other isn't. So they're not the same.
True, but they cover the same amount of area, basically. I guess I'm trying to say. And in some cases, depending upon what you're wearing, less or more.
It should really only be offensive if anything past the nip shows.
This kind of reminds me of the...
above the nip, anything just above the nip and higher, don't...
Probably wouldn't make it into a T game, right?
Right.
Like,
if you did that.
If you pretty much have it covering, like, just above the nip, then it should be okay, but if it's like, in terms of swimwear, I'm not saying people should go out in their underwear.
Yeah.
Even though I'm quite jealous of you men sometimes, you can go around topless.
True. Hey, there have been women's movements that have tried to get that changed, but
I know,
But that won't happen.
honestly,
probably not. Yeah.
this is a
probably won't.
little off topic here, but it's a little annoying, especially since there are some women out there that prefers to breastfeed over bottle feed.
Yeah, I well in
And
that
it's
in that
annoying
regard,
when
there
people
are a lot of
ew, but when they see a sexy lady that is showing a little bit more skin, they're like, wow, wow.
I guess that's just kind of. I mean, you're
That's
right.
kind
It's
of
kind of
messed up.
human.
It
It's
is.
kind of human nature. I will say that there are plenty of states in the United States that have protection for women to breastfeed in public, so that no one can claim that they're being lewd or whatever. You know, there's are protections for breastfeeding. So at least we have that right in the United States. But yeah, there are biases. You know, people are more apt to let it slide if someone who's generally considered sexier looking is seen in a lewd position as a person that is someone seen as less sexy is seen in a lewd position. One is, oh my God, like, you know, look over there, and the other is, oh my God, that's creepy and gross. And that's kind of just like a human bias that I think is pretty crappy as well. I think
I
that's
agree.
a pretty crappy human bias.
Humanity is I'm just going to say it. There is good humans out there, but there's also some pretty pieces of crap out there too.
TT, which one are you?
I'm a good human. I'm a good human.
All right.
He's a good boy.
I'm just
TT's a good
checking,
boy.
TT.
Good
I'm
boy.
just checking.
I know you are. Just
TT is such a good boy. Auntie TT.
Got you behind the TT ears. The TT ears.
Yep.
And Grim,
Yes.
you're a good boy too. You're
Oh,
a good
thank you.
boy.
Thank you. You mean I'm not going to get canceled over saying I don't think we should censor sexy anime characters?
Right.
Hallelujah! I'm probably still going to get canceled, but hallelujah anyway.
Praise the Lord.
What about me? Am I a good girl?
Yeah. You're.
Yeah. You know, but we don't want to say it that way to you because we're going to be called misogynist pigs.
Right.
So we have to be careful what we say to you. You can say whatever you want to us, but if we say it to you in the wrong way, we're going to be misogynist pigs.
Boys.
Yes, I mean, yes.
Anyone that says such a thing, fuck them. I don't care.
Well, I'm glad you got our back.
Yeah.
And they hear it right here because I have been called things like a bitch, and that does not affect me. And
It
you are
shouldn't.
probably going to have to either remove or censor this somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, people need to be not so skin thin, especially today on the internet, you know.
Yeah.
And this leads to a lot of the censorship stuff, right? With, you know, a lot of censorship is because companies are trying to avoid kind of like, you know, the outrage mobs that exist on Twitter, that exist on social media. They don't want to deal with the outrage mobs. So they feel that, you know, there's a vocal minority of people and, oh, look how loud they're being, so they must represent everyone. And they don't. They don't. But companies like Sony, you know, through leadership, through outrage mobs, they've changed to the version of themselves that exists today, and it's not a good version. It's a bad version. It's a bad version. TT,
Yep.
any other examples? And, you know, this is a topic I know that we will continue on as,
Yeah, because we're almost at.
you know, we come up with examples.
We're over the 1 hour mark. But I can like add this thing like real quickly here. The Mass Effect sex scene, which had to be censored due to what happened on Fox News. That had to censor that in Mass Effect 2 and 3. They couldn't add anymore because of what happened on Fox News.
Right. And, you know, in the Legendary Edition, and I know there's arguments back and forth. They edited out. There were certain scenes that basically involved Miranda in like a very emotional, tense scene, and the original game basically was showing you camera angles of Miranda as she was talking about these like kind of like really emotional topics from her behind, from her butt, right? And in the relaunch of the game, the Legendary Edition, which just came out, they actually changed those camera angles so they weren't showing her ass anymore.
Really?
Yeah, so they basically changed the cutscene, okay? And a lot of people will say, and I'm not pointing to what Sadet was saying earlier, but a lot of people use that excuse. They say, oh, it's better now. It's good censorship. Because it just felt awkward and strange that, they have this, like, intense emotional scene and you're staring at this ass. And I totally understand that. Like, I get the logic. Like, yeah, it is kind of strange that you're staring at this woman's ass during this, this emotional cutscene. But that's how the original artist and the original art director and the original game was put together. So if you want to go back to the original art director and say to him, do you want to change this? And he says yes, that's one thing. But to go and change it now, that's censorship. Hey,
I have a theory of why the camera was pointed at the ass.
Go ahead. Why? Why?
Because the person that was creating the censors was trying to subtly tell us that this scene is absolute ass.
God, do you know what's going to happen to you, Sadet? All of the Mass Effect fanboys, and there are so many. I mean, there are people that love, especially the first two Mass Effect games. They are going to show up in droves for you. In droves.
The humanity.
Yeah, they are. But they're just like any other fandom. People who love those games are so fanatical. Just like any other fandom, right?
Guys, I was just making a joke here.
We know.
Calm down, you Mass Effect fans.
We are Mass Effect fans. We are, yes.
I mean, I'm definitely a fan of the first two games. Although, if I want to play them, I'm going to play my original Xbox 360 versions, which I still have.
I do too. Because they look better. The graphics look a little bit better that way.
Yeah, look, you can edit the ass camera angles out all you want. I'm not gonna play your Legendary Edition. Sorry, I'm not gonna play it. First off, Mass Effect 3 was a terrible game, so I don't need that again. I don't want to pay you money.
It got better with the extended cut ending. It got better with the extended cut ending for me.
I still don't want to pay for it again. So I'd pay for 1 and 2 again if they hadn't changed those scenes. But and people can say it's petty. It shouldn't have been in there in the first place. Well, go and argue that with the original art director. Go and argue that with the person who decided to put those camera angles in the original game. If you change the original, it is censorship. Unless it is a new art direction done by the original art team. And everyone who worked on Mass Effect Legendary Collection, there was no one that worked on that worked on the original game. So that's that.
Right. And you got anything else to say before we wrap up here?
I do not, other than, wow, I mean, this is a topic I guess we're going to be revisiting over and over.
There will be a part 2.
Like one of our previous topics.
Yeah.
And
there will be a part 2. Next episode will be part 2 of censorship in video games. I know
I don't think it will. But we might do it a different day, but...
Well, E3, we'll talk about E3. When we talk about E3 next, it's E3 to be wrapping up.
Let's not and never commit to anything.
Right.
That way we'll never get in trouble for not doing it. Right, guys?
Right. In fact, next podcast, since E3's wrapping up, we'll talk about E3 next, because, we might as well, but,
Yeah, Sure.
Yeah,
I'll complain about it again.
Yeah.
But we'll have had the Nintendo show as well.
Yeah, definitely. But that's pretty much all we gotta say. There's more. There's more reviews coming, so be on the lookout for that. And so stay tuned for that. And pretty much all we gotta say here for this epic podcast. Stay tuned. Episode 12, E3. We're talking about. Pretty much all we gotta say is
Good night.
Tony, peace out. Have a good day along with Sadet, the Hyperactive Princess, and Grim Monolith. Peace out.
Yep.
Y'all.
Have a good night, everyone. And we are.
If you make any changes,
Oh, go ahead.
if you make any changes, try to do them right.
You got it. And
Yeah, exactly.
that's pretty much all we gotta say. Take care, everybody, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.
See you,
everyone.
Happy gaming, everybody. Bye.
God!
Take care,
Help!
everybody. Take care.
Help!
Take care, everybody. Take care.